Okay. We are reading Wonder by R.J. Palaco, and we are on page 41, Around the Room. Miss Petosa told us a little bit about who she was. It was boring stuff about where she was originally from, how she always wanted to teach, how she left her job on Wall Street about 6 years ago to pursue her dream and teach kids. She ended up asking if anyone had questions, and Julian raised his hand. Yes, she said, but she had to look at the list to remember his name. Julian. That's cool about how you're pursuing your dream, he said. Thank you, she said. You're welcome. He smiled proudly. Okay, so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Julian? Actually, here's what I want everyone to do. Think of 2 things you want other people to know about you. Actually, wait a minute. How many of you came from Beecher Lower School? About half the kids raised their hand. Okay, so let's start with Julian and we'll go around the room. Julian scrunched up his face and started tapping his forehead like he was thinking really hard. Okay, whenever you're ready, said Miss Petosa. Okay, so number 1 is that... Do me a favor and start with your names, okay? Miss Petosa interrupted. It'll help me remember. Oh, okay. So my name is Julian, and the number 1 thing I'd like to tell everyone about myself is that I just got Battleground Mystic for my Wii, and it's totally awesome. And the number 2 thing is that we got a ping pong table this summer. Very nice. I love ping pong, said Miss Petosa. Does anyone have any questions for Julian? Is Battleground Mystic multiplayer or 1 player? Said the kid named Miles. Not those kinds of questions, guys, said Miss Petosa. Okay, so how about you? She pointed to Charlotte, probably because her desk was closest to the front. Oh, sure, Charlotte said. She didn't hesitate for a second. Like she knew exactly what she was going to say. My name is Charlotte. I have 2 sisters, and we just got a new puppy named Suki in July. We got her from an animal shelter, and she's so cute. That's great, Charlotte. Okay, said Miss Petosa. Who's next? Page 43, Lamb to the Slaughter. Like a lamb to the slaughter. Something that you say about someone who goes somewhere calmly, not knowing that something unpleasant is going to happen to them. I Googled it last night. That's what I was thinking when Miss Petosa called my name and suddenly it was my turn to talk. My name is August, I said, and yeah, I kind of mumbled it. What? Said someone. Can you speak up, honey? Said Miss Petosa. My name is August, I said louder, forcing myself to look up. I have a sister named Via and a dog named Daisy, and that's it. Wonderful, said Miss Petosa. Anyone have any questions for August? No one said anything. Okay, you're next, said Miss Petosa to Jack. Wait, I have a question for August, said Julian, raising his hand. Why do you have that tiny braid in the back of your hair? Is that like a Padawan thing? Yeah, I shrugged, nodded. What's a Padawan thing? Said Miss Petosa, smiling at me. It's from Star Wars, answered Julian. A Padawan is a Jedi apprentice. Oh, interesting, said Miss Petosa, looking at me. So are you into Star Wars, August? I guess, I nodded, not looking up because what I really wanted to do was slide under my desk. Who's your favorite character? Julian asked. I started to think maybe he wasn't so bad. Jango Fett. What about the Darth Sidious? He asked. Do you like him? Okay, guys, you can talk about Star Wars stuff at recess, said Miss Petosa cheerfully. But let's keep going. We haven't heard from you yet, she said to Jack. Now it was Jack's turn to talk. But I admit I didn't hear a word he said. Maybe no one got the Darth Sidious thing, and maybe Julian didn't mean anything about it at all. But in Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, Darth Sidious's face gets burned by the Sith lightning and becomes totally deformed. His skin gets all shriveled up, and his whole face just kind of melts. I peeked at Julian, and he was looking at me. Yeah, he knew what he was saying. Page 45, Choose Kind. There was a lot of shuffling around when the bell rang and everybody got up to leave. I checked my schedule and it said my next class was English, room 321. I didn't stop to see if anyone else from my homeroom was going my way. I just zoomed out of the class and down the hall and sat as far from the front as possible. The teacher, a really tall man with a yellow beard, was writing on the chalkboard. Kids came in laughing and started talking in little groups, but I didn't look up. Basically, the same thing had happened in homeroom happened again. No one sat next to me except for Jack, who was joking around with some kids who weren't in our homeroom. I could tell Jack was the kind of kid other kids like. He had a lot of friends. He made people laugh. When the second bell rang, everyone got quiet and the teacher turned around and faced us. His name was Mr. Brown, and when he started talking about what we would be doing this semester, at a certain point, somewhere in between A Wrinkle in Time and Shen of the Sea, he noticed me but kept right on talking. I was mostly drooling in my notebook while he talked, but every once in a while I would sneak a look at the other students. Charlotte was in this class, so were Julian and Henry. Miles wasn't. Mr. Brown had written on the chalkboard in big, black block letters, Precept, precept. Okay, everybody, write down this at the top of your first page in your English notebook. As we did what we were told to do, he said, okay, so who can tell me what a precept is? Does anyone know? No one raised their hand. Mr. Brown smiled, nodded, and turned around to write on the board again. Precepts equals rules about really important things. Like a motto, someone called out. Like a motto, said Mr. Brown, nodding as he continued writing on the board. Like a famous quote. Like a line from a fortune cookie. Anything or saying or ground rule that can motivate you. Basically, anything that helps guide us when making decisions about really important things. He all wrote that on the chalkboard and then turned around and faced us. So, what are some really important things, he said. A few kids raised their hands, and as he pointed at them, they gave them their answers, which he wrote on the chalkboard in really, really sloppy writing. Rules, schoolwork, homework. What else he said as he wrote, not even turning around. Just call things out. He wrote everything on the board that everyone called out. Family, parents, pets, the environment, our world. Sharks, because they eat dead things in the ocean, said one of the boys, a kid named Reed, and Mr. Brown wrote down sharks. Bees, seatbelts, recycling, friends. Okay, said Mr. Brown, writing all those things down. He turned around when he finished writing to face us again. But no one's named the most important thing of all. We all looked at him out of ideas. God? Said one kid. And I can tell even though Mr. Brown wrote God down, that wasn't the answer he was looking for. Without anything else, he wrote down who we are. Who we are, he said, underlining each word as he said it. Who we are. Us, right? What kind of people are we? What kind of person are you? Isn't that the most important thing of all? Isn't that the kind of question we should be asking ourselves all the time? What kind of person am I? Did anyone happen to notice the plaque next to the door of the school? Anyone read what it says? Anyone? He looked around, but no one knew the answer. It says, know thyself, he said, smiling and nodding. And learning who you are is what you're here to do. I thought we were here to learn English, Jack cracked, which made everyone laugh. Oh, well, yeah, that too, Mr. Brown answered, which I thought was very cool of him. He turned around and wrote in big, huge block letters that spread all the way across the board, Mr. Brown's September precept. When given the choice between being right or being kind, choose kind. Okay, so everybody, he said, facing us again, I want you to start a brand new section in your notebooks and call it Mr. Brown's Precepts. He kept talking as we did what he was telling us to do. Put today's date at the top of the first page. And from now on, at the beginning of every month, I am going to write a new Mr. Brown precept on the chalkboard, and you're going to write it down in your notebook. And then we're going to discuss what that precept is and what it means. At the end of the month, you're going to write an essay about it, about what it means to you. So by the end of the year, You'll all have your own list of precepts to take away with you. Over the summer, I ask all my students to come up with their very own personal precept, write it on a postcard, and mail it to me from wherever you go on your summer vacation. People really do that? Said one girl whose name I didn't know. Oh, yeah, he answered. People really do that. I've had students send me new precepts years after they've graduated from school, actually. It's pretty amazing. He paused and stroked his beard. But anyway, next summer seems like a long way off, I know, he joked, which made me laugh. So everybody relax a bit while I take attendance, and then when we're finished, I'll start telling you about all the fun stuff we're going to be doing this year in English. He pointed to Jack when he said that, which was also funny, so we all laughed at that. As I wrote down Mr. Brown's September precept, suddenly I realized I was going to like this school, no matter what. Page 49, lunch. Via had warned me about lunch in middle school, so I guess I should have known it would be hard. I just hadn't expected it would be this hard. Basically, all the kids from the 5th grade classes poured into the cafeteria at the same time, talking loudly and bumping into each other while they ran into different tables. One of the lunchroom teachers said something about no seat saving allowed, but I didn't know what she meant, and maybe no one else did either, because just about everyone was saving seats for their friends. I tried to sit down at a table, but the kid in the next year said, "Oh, sorry, someone else is sitting there. Oh, sorry, I'm saving this." So I moved to an empty table and just waited for everyone to finish stampeding and the lunchroom teacher to tell us what to do next. As she started telling us the cafeteria rules, I looked around to see where Jack Will was sitting, but I didn't see him on my side of the room. Kids were still coming in as the teacher started calling the first few tables to get their trays and stand on the line at the counter. Julian, Henry, and Miles were sitting at the table toward the back of the room. Mom had packed me a cheese sandwich, graham crackers, and a juice box, so I didn't need to stand on line when my table was called. Instead, I just concentrated on opening my backpack, pulling out my lunch, and slowly opening the aluminum foil of my sandwich. I could tell I was being stared at without even looking up. I knew people were nudging each other, watching me out of the corners of their eyes. I thought I was used to those kinds of stares, but now I guess I wasn't. There was one table of girls I knew were whispering about me because they were talking behind their hands. Their eyes and whispers kept bouncing over to me. I hate the way I eat. I know how weird it looks. I had a surgery to fix my cleft palate when I was a baby, and then a second cleft surgery when I was 4, and I still have a hole in the roof of my mouth. And even though I had jaw alignment surgery a few years ago, I have to chew food in the front of my mouth. I didn't even realize how this looked until I was at a birthday party once, and one of the kids told Mom of the birthday boy he didn't want to sit by me because I was too messy, with all of the food crumbs shooting out of my mouth. I know the kid wasn't trying to be mean, but he got in big trouble later, and his mom called my mom that night to apologize. When I got home from the party, I went to the bathroom mirror and started eating a saltine cracker to see what I looked like when I was chewing. The kid was right. I eat like a tortoise, if you've ever seen a tortoise eating. Like some prehistoric swamp thing. Page 51, the summer table. Hey, is this seat taken? I looked up, and a girl I'd never saw before was standing across from my table with a lunch tray full of food. She had long, wavy brown hair and wore a brown t-shirt with a purple peace sign on it. No, I said. She put her lunch tray on the table, plopped her backpack on the floor, and sat across from me. She started to eat the mac and cheese on her plate. Ugh, she said after swallowing the first bite. I should have brought a sandwich like you did. Yeah, I said, nodding. My name is Summer, by the way. What's yours? August. Cool, she said. Summer. Another girl came over carrying a tray. Why are you sitting here? Come back to the table. It was too crowded, Summer answered her. Come sit here, there's more room. The other girl looked confused for a second. I realized she had been one of the girls I had caught looking at me just a few minutes earlier, her hand cupped over her mouth, whispering. I guess Summer had been one of the girls at the table, too. Never mind, said the girl, leaving. Summer looked at me, shrugged, smiled, and took another bite of her mac and cheese. Hey, our names kind of match, she said as she chewed. I guess she could tell I didn't know what she meant. Summer, August, she said, smiling, her eyes wide as she waited for me to get it. Oh, yeah, I said after a second. We can make this the summer-only lunch table, she said. Only kids with summer names can sit here. Let's see. Is there anyone here named June or July? There's a Maya, I said. Well, technically, May is spring, Summer answered. But if she wanted to sit here, we could probably make an extension. She said that as if she'd actually thought the whole thing through. There's Julian. That's like the name Julia, which comes from July. I didn't say anything. There's a kid named Reed in my English class, I said. Yeah, I know Reed, but how is Reed a summer name? I don't know. I just picture like a reed of grass being a summer thing. Yeah, okay, she nodded, pulling out her notebook. And Miss Petosa can come here. That kind of sounds like the word pedal, which I think of as a summer thing too. I have her for homeroom, I said. I have her for math, she answered, making a face. She started writing the last names on the second to last page of her notebook. Who else? By the end of lunch, we had come up with a whole list of names of kids and teachers who could sit at our table if they wanted. Most of the names weren't actually summer names, but they were names that had some sort of connection to summer. I even found a way of making Jack Will's name by pointing out that you could turn his name into a sentence like Jack will go to the beach, Jack will play outside, which Summer agreed worked fine. But if someone doesn't have a summer name and wants to sit with us, she said very seriously, we'll let them sit here if they're nice, okay? Okay, I nodded, even if it's a winter name. Cool beans, she answered, giving me a thumbs up. Summer looked like her name. She had a tan, and her eyes were green, like a leaf. Page 54, 1 to 10. Mom always had a habit of asking me how something felt on a scale of 1 to 10. It started after I had jaw surgery, when I couldn't talk because my mouth was wired shut. They had taken a piece of bone from my hip to insert it in my chin to make it look more normal. So I was hurting a lot in a lot of different places. My mom would point to one of my bandages, and I would hold up fingers to show her how much it was hurting, 1 to 10. 1 meant a little bit, 10 meant so much. Then she would tell the doctor when he made his rounds what needed adjusting or things like that. Mom got very good at reading my mind sometimes. After that, we got into the habit of doing the 1 to 10 scale for anything that hurt. Like if I had just had a plain old sore throat, she'd say 1 to 10. I'd say 3, or whatever it was. When school was over, I went outside to meet Mom, who was waiting for me at the front entrance, like all the other parents. Babysitters. The first thing she said after hugging me was, so, how was it, 1 to 10? 5, I shrugged, which I could tell totally surprised her. Wow, she said quietly. That's even better than I hoped for. Are we picking Via up? Miranda's mother's picking up Via today. Do you want me to carry your backpack, sweetness? We had started walking through the crowd of kids and parents, most of whom were noticing me and secretly pointing me out to each other. I'm fine, I said. It looks too heavy, August. And she started to take it from me. Mom, I said. Pulling my backpack away from her, I walked in front of her through the crowd. See you tomorrow, August. It was Summer. She was walking in the opposite direction. Bye, Summer, I said, waving at her. As soon as we crossed the street and were away from the crowd, Mom said, who was that, Augie? Summer. Is she in your class? Well, I have lots of classes. Is she in any of your classes? Mom said, I don't know. Mom waited for me to say something, but I just didn't feel like talking. So it went okay, said Mom. I could tell she had a million questions she wanted to ask me. Everyone was nice. Did you like your teachers? Yeah. How about those kids you met last week? Were they nice? Fine. It was fine. Jack hung out with me a lot. That's so great, sweetie. And what about that boy, Julian? I thought about the Darth Sidious comment. By now, it felt like it had happened 100 years ago. He was okay, I said. And the blonde girl, what was her name? Charlotte, Mom. I said everyone was nice already. Okay, Mom answered. I honestly don't know why I'm kind of mad at Mom, but I was. We crossed Aimforce Avenue, and she didn't say anything else until we turned onto our block. So, Mom said, how did you meet Summer if she wasn't in any of your classes? We sat together at lunch. I'd started kicking a rock between my feet like it was a soccer ball, chasing it back and forth across the sidewalk. She seems very nice. Yeah, she is. She's very pretty, Mom said. I know, I answered. We're kind of like Beauty and the Beast. I didn't wait to see Mom's reaction. I just started running down the sidewalk after the rock, which I had kicked as hard as I could in front of me.